What up, y'all? It's the Robot Watcher, grab your binoculars, and I'm back with another eval. You already know what time it is. I've been waiting to talk about my guy. I needed more tape because all of the games I had was SEC tape. Y'all know how they get with that. But I got a game of tape that wasn't SEC, so I'm going to try to use that. A couple other clips I found and some stuff from the Senior Bowl. But let's get into it. Now, when we talk about our guy Ezeiruaku, Donovan Ezeiruaku, that is, if I didn't say it in the intro, you got to talk about his ability to get to the quarterback. He's a edge rusher. He is a sack hunter. Now, I ain't going to sit too long or talk too much about this. It's not going to be a long video because I don't have as much tape as I want to. I have the tape to watch. I don't have as much tape I can show with a video. So, first thing you got to talk about is his bend. He has elite bend. His RAS scores was great because of how good his agility scores was, because he was better than everybody in the 3-cone and 20-yard shuttle. Just elite bend. He's able to dip and get around the corner around the tackle and things like that 24/7. I mean, he uses that to win in almost every single pass rush, at least 85% of them. Really, really good bender. I love to see it. Next, I mean, you got to talk about his moveset. It is deep. It is advanced, but there is something missing. We'll talk about that later. But from cross chops, the most advanced move that you can use, he's probably the best at using a cross chop in this class. Clubs, double swipes, things like that. Inside swipes or inside counters. He's able to get tackles to overset, swipe, or dip inside around those guys and get to the quarterback. It's the reason he had 16.5 sacks last season. He's an elite pass rusher. If you're talking about a guy that's just going to get to the quarterback, this is one of those guys in this class. Him, Mike Green, Abdul Carter. These are guys that's going to consistently get there. Really deep move set. I do want to see a couple things added. We'll get to it later. But really, really good move set. He's able to get to the quarterback very easily. I talked to him at the Senior Bowl. He talked about how his best asset not only is his athleticism, but how he studies film and studies the tackles that he's going against to know their weaknesses. And that goes into the next point. He's a counter puncher. Most of the time, he's trying to set up guys to do the wrong thing and go the opposite way. I remember when I was in high school, they talked about how that's how they teach Ohio State edge rushers like Joey Bosa, those guys that was coming out at that same time, to do the Chase Young, all that, to be counter punchers. If the tackle does this, you know what move to go to beat that. He does that a lot. He comes off kind of slowish. He kind of gives them a cup, squares them up a little bit, almost like a wide receiver doing a release. And then he's trying to get them to shoot their hands first so he knows which way to counter. That's why he's able to get a cross chop, because you need their hands to be out there to get a cross chop, inside swipes, things like that. But he still can't be on the attack. He can still come forward. He reminds me of like Tank Davis as a boxer. Next thing I want to talk about, his hands are super active and very accurate also. He has such long arms. He has 34-inch arms. He's able to always consistently, in the run game or in the pass game, keep himself clean. There is times where he kind of knifes into a guy, becomes like a torpedo, where he's just putting the shoulder in first on a run or pass game. But whenever he needs to use his hands, whether it's from a 2-point stance, 3-point stance, 4-point stance, whenever he needs to use his hands to keep clean, he's able to do that. And that goes to the next point too. I think his anchor is good enough. Both of these kind of go together. His anchor is good enough. He's not a dominant anchor. He's not a guy that's going to throw offensive tackles around, be dominant against the run. That's not him. He doesn't get thrown around though. He's not moved around as easy as you would expect for a guy that's 6'2", 248. And he also talked about being able to play comfortably at 255. So his anchor has the ability to go up from here. I think he has a good enough anchor. I think his arms is long enough to keep him clean in the run game so he can actually make plays. He's not a net negative in the run. Really, really good player, though. I mean, that's all I really got to say for his strengths. I like him as a player, and I think I already talked about it in the edge video. He's like edge, I want to say 4 to me there, either 3 or 4. I might have had niggas scoring over him, but I would like him at 8. I'm a J. If you got a guy that you like, you think he's a fit for your team, he's a great player, he's going to be a great player, go get him. We don't need to do all this gymnastics trading back. But, of course, if we were to trade back and go get him, all that stuff. Really, really good player, though. So let's get into the stuff that's not necessarily his game. Now, for the stuff that's not necessarily Donovan Ezeiruaku's game, this is where I take issue to his pass rush bag. He lacks power moves. Speed to power, I don't see it as much. I don't see a crazy bull rush or anything like that. Like I said, his counters are more cross chop to the outside, inside double club, inside double swipes, things like that, dipping around into the inside of the tackle. He's consistently trying to get them to overset. But if you're going to get a more technically refined tackle, is that going to be able to work? Because I won't even say it's as much as winning with speed. That's not necessarily his game. He's not speeding around guys. It's more of a technical battle, you know? So I'm technically going to be sound in my counters, but I'm trying to bait you into doing the wrong thing. Like I said, with Tank Davis, bait you into doing the wrong thing so then I can counter that and get to the quarterback. And it worked. I think he was second in the ACC all-time in sacks, or tied second, third, one of those. He had 16.5 sacks last year. His sophomore year, he had 8.5. So it has worked. And that film study has worked to know the weaknesses of guys and be able to get it out of them. Pause. That was crazy. But I do want to see him add more power moves, because if you're going to get guys consistently oversetting, consistently holding their hands back, waiting for you to make a move, you need to be able to throw that curveball, which is, you got 34-inch arms, put your arms in his chest and drop him into the quarterback. I want to see that more. I just didn't see it on the 3 or 4 games of tape that I watched personally. Next, slower get off, but this is a question mark beside it, because it could be because of how he is as a pass rusher. Like I said, he's a counter puncher, and he's consistently trying to get you to make the first move. So you can't necessarily just run around a guy and expect him to make the first move. Like, no, at that point you're on the offensive. So his slower get off could be because of that. Because it was a couple times in the run game where I seen him get off the ball. I'm like, all right, he's getting and going. I seen him at Senior Bowl. I'm like, all right, this guy looks fast. He's going to get it. But he's not a speed rusher. That's not necessarily the way he wins. Not saying he can't do that. It's just not the way that I seen on tape. That's not the way he wins. So you do got to put that of note. He didn't run the 40, so we don't know what his 10-yard split will be. We don't know how fast he specifically is. Maybe he'll run it at his pro day or something, and we can see from there. But as of now, I don't see a super fast, twitchy, explosive get off. But I can also acknowledge that's because of the way that he is as a pass rusher. Last thing that I got, he's not very violent with his hands, or in the run game. Like I said, he's not throwing guys around. He's not very violent with his power moves. He's not putting, when he hits guys, they're not, their head isn't snapping back like, oh, he got some thud in his hands. That's not him. And I haven't seen it on any of his tape, really. At the Senior Bowl, he had a couple of good plays where he's anchoring up, but still, it was no violence or thudding in his hands. It's not necessarily him. He's not a big puncher. And that could be a detriment to his run defense, but I still think he's just a good enough run defender to survive. I mean, you got guys like Harold Landry, Brian Burns, guys like that, where it's like, okay, Brian Burns is okay in run defense. He's even been good in run defense. But then Harold Landry has been one of the best run defenders in the league at his size. So I think it could work out. But I do want to see a little bit more violence from his hands. Need him to add that bull rush to his game, a long arm, or anything speed to power wise, just to throw a curveball so they're not always expecting you to consistently try to be a counter puncher. And yeah, that's the really two things that I would like to see him add to his game. But let's get into his player build. All right, when it comes to Donovan Ezeiruaku's player build, his player build, I started reading the thing off already, but I think he's a pass rush mercenary. He's not necessarily a guy that you think is going to be dominant in the run game. He can make some splash plays. You just want him to hold up and make a couple splash plays, kind of like how Brian Burns is for the Giants, or how he used to be for us. If he can be that, that's great. If he can be a Harold Landry in the run game, perfect. I think that's great. But I would much rather him be a Brian Burns type of guy where, hey, we're focusing on you being as best of a pass rusher as you can be. That's not what I prefer. I would prefer him to be Harold Landry, but I'm banking on him to be a Brian Burns type of guy where, hey, you hold up, you make a couple splash plays. You can even be a good edge defender at times, but we don't need you to be dominant. Now, when it comes to the shades of, I stole the first one from somebody else. I'm not going to lie. I had some different type of guy, but the speed element, I just wasn't seeing it with the way that Donovan Ezeiruaku was rushing. But Clay Matthews, on the other hand, is a great comp to me that I forgot who it was on Twitter. I wish I could shout him out. But Clay Matthews, another smaller guy, a guy that's going to get around the edge with a lot of agility. He also played a little bit of kind of like a blitzing linebacker. But when he was coming off the edge mostly, which is what he mostly did, he was great. He was not necessarily this super splashy speed guy or power guy that's running through guys, but he was his big upper body, the strong upper body that he had with his long arms. He was able to get guys off balance. He was able to bend and dip under guys. I think that's the same way that Donovan Ezeiruaku kind of wins with his upper body, with his long arms, being able to swipe, get in the guy's chest in the run game, bend under guys, get cross chops, things like that. The next guy I have is another guy that was kind of similar build to him and also had a really, really good agility scores. Will McDonald. Will McDonald kind of took a little bit to get going his first year, but I think last year he had like 11 sacks or something like that. Really, really good speed or finesse rusher. I won't even say speed rusher, but really good finesse rusher. I think this type of mold of player has shown to be successful in a 4-3 defense. I think if you're putting Ezeiruaku in another 4-3 defense, which is possible because that's what he played at BC, a lot of the times, a lot of his snaps was split up. But I think it is possible for him to win there, and Will McDonald is a prime example of that. I won't keep going on like what his game is. We kind of know who he is and what Donovan Ezeiruaku is. They go together. And then, of course, last, Harold Landry. Harold Landry, pre-ACL, was a great pass rusher. Really, really able to get to the quarterback. Good bend, good speed off the edge, but also a really, 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 really good run defender. One of the best edge run defenders in the league. After the ACL, he still is able to put up good production, but a lot of it is off stunts, things like that. So I think the floor being either version of Harold Landry, I think that's a good floor to have. Now, I think Donovan Ezeiruaku is a top 15 to 20 pick in the draft. I think he will be an edge one. I think this is a guy who's going to be a sack artist, one of those 11-plus sack guys. Some years he might even mess around and have another 16.5 sack season like he did this year in college. So I think this is a guy that you need on your team, a guy that takes a lot of attention away from other guys to give them one-on-ones. You've seen at BC when they had bad tackles on them or even tackles that weren't necessarily winning against them enough, they were bringing chips. They were bringing doubles from the tight ends, things like that, sliding the guard over just to help. And that can help in our defense with guys like Wharton. Treshawn Wharton, my bad. I want to say his name right. Treshawn Wharton, give him some one-on-ones. So, yeah. I love Donovan Ezeiruaku. I think his floor is 19 or 20 at Tampa Bay, whichever one they have. I think he's going top 20 in this draft. Don't see him falling below there, but if he does, you trade up to 33 and you go get him if you're the Panthers. But I'd take him at 8. It don't even matter to me. But that's all I got for y'all. This has been the Real Ball Watcher. Put up your binoculars. Do all that stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Let me know in the comments what you think about Donovan Ezeiruaku. Sorry for the video being so short. Blame the SEC. But I'm out.